Have you ever noticed how your kindness feels like it's being poured into a cracked vessel? You keep giving, hoping the leaks will finally seal, but the floor is just getting wetter. I know that exhaustion. I see the way your shoulders drop when another apology turns into another empty promise. Today, we aren't just talking about boundaries. We are uncovering the one thing they dread more than your anger, your absolute, freezing silence. You've been told that forgiveness is a virtue, a path to peace that you're supposed to walk for your own sake. But in the hands of a narcissist, your grace is nothing more than a green light. It's the permission they need to keep rewriting the rules of your reality. You've been living in a loop, waiting for a change that was never scheduled to arrive. It's time we look at what happens when you finally decide to cut the power. It starts with a small realization, a quiet whisper in the back of your mind that says, I can't do this anymore. Not because you're weak, but because you've been too strong for too long. You've carried the weight of two people's emotional maturity, and the strain is finally starting to show. You're beginning to see that your empathy isn't a bridge, it's a hostage. And the person holding it has no intention of ever letting it go. Think about every time you've accepted a half-hearted apology. You wanted to believe in the version of them that appeared in the beginning, the one who saw you or at least pretended to. But that version was a ghost, a carefully constructed image designed to bypass your defenses. Now, you're left with the reality of who they are when the mask slips. It's cold, it's calculating, and it's deeply, profoundly uninterested in you. There is a specific kind of grief that comes with realizing you've been loving a reflection. You weren't interacting with a person, you were interacting with a projection. Every time you forgave them, you were trying to fix the mirror. But the glass is broken, and all you're doing is cutting your hands while they watch. It's a painful truth to swallow, but it's the only one that will actually set you on the path toward freedom. Why do we keep going back? It's the hope. That dangerous, beautiful hope that if we just say it the right way, they'll finally understand. If we just show them enough love, they'll heal. But you have to understand that their wound isn't something your love can fix. It's a structural void. It's an appetite that can never be satisfied. Your forgiveness is just another meal to them, consumed and forgotten before the sun even goes down. When you stop forgiving, the air in the room changes. It's not a loud explosion, it's the sound of a key turning in a lock. For the first time, you're not asking for permission to be hurt. You're not waiting for them to validate your pain. You're simply stepping out of the arena. This is where the real story begins. This is the moment where the predator realizes the prey has stopped running and simply ceased to exist for them. You might feel a sense of guilt creeping in. That's the conditioning talking. You've been trained to feel responsible for their emotional state, even when they're the ones causing the chaos. It's a clever trap, isn't it? They break the peace, and then you're the one who feels bad for not fixing it. But today, we're breaking that cycle. We're going to look at the psychological mechanics of why going cold is your most potent weapon. Imagine the narcissist as a performer on a stage. They need the lights, the applause, and even the heckling. As long as you're reacting, whether you're crying, screaming, or forgiving, you're still in the audience. You're still giving them the energy they need to keep the show running. But what happens when the theater goes dark? What happens when the audience just stands up and walks out without saying a single word? This isn't about being mean or seeking revenge. It's about reclaiming the energy you've been wasting on a lost cause. It's about the terrifying, liberating power of indifference. Because, as we're about to explore, the one thing a narcissist cannot survive is being irrelevant. They can handle your hate, but they cannot handle your silence. It's time to stop forgiving the unforgivable and start protecting what's left of your soul. To understand why going cold works, you have to understand the internal landscape of the narcissist. It's a place of profound emptiness, a desert masked by a mirage. They don't have a stable sense of self, so they rely on external feedback to feel alive. You are their mirror. When you react to them, you're telling them they exist. Even if you're angry, you're still providing the supply that keeps their fragile ego from collapsing. They view people as objects, tools meant to serve a specific function. When you forgive them, you're essentially saying, I am still a functional tool for you. It confirms their belief that they are the center of the universe and that your feelings are secondary to their needs. They don't see your forgiveness as a gift, they see it as a weakness to be exploited. It's a calculation, a transaction where they always come out on top. Their internal world is governed by shame, though they will never admit it. To avoid feeling that shame, they must stay in control. Control of the narrative, control of the emotions, and most importantly, control of you. Forgiveness is a form of control for them. It means the status quo is restored. It means they don't have to change. They can keep their perfect self-image intact while you continue to do all the emotional labor. Have you ever noticed how they seem bored when things are peaceful? That's because they need the high-stakes drama to feel significant. Forgiveness resets the clock on that drama. It gives them a fresh canvas to paint their next crisis on. They aren't looking for a resolution, they're looking for a reprieve. They want to escape the consequences of their actions without actually having to take any responsibility for the damage. When you're in the cycle, you're constantly trying to explain yourself. You think, if I could just make them see how much they hurt me, they would stop. But the narcissist already knows they hurt you. In fact, that's the point. Your pain is proof of their power. Your tears are evidence that they can still reach you. When you forgive them, you're validating that power dynamic. You're reinforcing the idea that they are the master. They operate on a primitive psychological level. It's a game of all or nothing. Either you are with them, serving them, or you are an enemy to be destroyed. There is no middle ground, no healthy compromise. So, when you offer forgiveness, you're simply signaling that you've returned to your post. You're back in the role they've assigned you, and they can breathe a sigh of relief knowing the supply line has been restored. Think of their ego as a balloon that constantly leaks. They have to keep puffing it up with attention, admiration, or even conflict. Silence, however, is a vacuum. It sucks the air right out of them. They don't know how to exist in a space where they aren't being reacted to. It's a form of psychological annihilation for them. If they aren't impacting you, do they even exist? That is the terrifying question they are always running from. They are masters of the hoovering technique, the attempt to suck you back in when they feel you slipping away. They'll use charm, guilt, or even manufactured crises to get a reaction. It's like a fisherman tugging on the line to see if the fish is still there. Every time you forgive, you're biting the hook. You're proving that the connection is still live. You're giving them the reassurance they need to keep playing the game. It's important to realize that their behavior isn't a series of mistakes. It's a strategy. It's a way of moving through the world that prioritizes their comfort over your sanity. They don't want to be better in the way you understand it. They want to be unbothered. They want the benefits of a relationship without the responsibilities of one. Your forgiveness is the currency they use to buy their way out of being a decent human being. So, when we talk about going cold, we're talking about cutting off the currency. We're talking about making the cost of their behavior too high for them to pay. We're talking about stepping into a reality where their actions no longer have an audience. This is the breakdown of their carefully constructed world. It's the moment the mask starts to crumble because there's no one left to perform for. The stage is empty, and the lights are out. The shift happens in the silence. It's the moment you stop explaining. You stop arguing. You stop trying to help them understand. You simply stop. This isn't the silent treatment that narcissists use to punish you. That's a weapon of control. What we're talking about is different. This is a withdrawal of energy. It's a quiet closing of the door. You aren't being mean, you are being absent. And for them, absence is an existential threat. At first, they won't believe it. They'll think it's just another phase, a little tantrum you're throwing before you inevitably come back to forgive them. They'll wait for the usual signs, the long text messages, the tearful confrontations, the requests for a talk. But when those things don't happen, a subtle panic begins to set in. The script is being followed, but the other actor has walked off the set. The tension starts to rise. They might try to provoke you. They'll do the very things that used to make you explode, expecting the same results. They'll push every button you have, looking for a spark, a flicker of life, anything to prove they still have a grip on you. But you remain cold. You remain neutral. Like a stone in a river, you let their chaos wash over you without being moved by it. You're witnessing their desperation, and it's a revelation. This is the turning point where you realize that their power was always a gift you were giving them. It wasn't something they possessed, it was something you fueled. By refusing to react, you are taking your power back, piece by piece. You are watching them scramble to find a way back into your head, and for the first time, you can see how small they actually are. The giant you feared is just a scared child behind a curtain. There is a strange, heavy peace in this stage. It's the peace of a battlefield after the war is over. You're tired, yes, but you're no longer fighting. You've realized that the only way to win a game with a narcissist is to stop playing. You aren't trying to change them anymore. You aren't trying to save them. You're finally focused on saving yourself. The energy that used to go into fixing them is now being redirected inward. Suddenly, the emergencies don't feel so urgent. The insults don't sting the way they used to. You start to see their behavior for what it is, a pathetic attempt to stay relevant in a life they no longer deserve to be a part of. You are becoming unreachable. You are moving into a frequency they cannot tune into. It's a psychological shift that changes the very fabric of your reality. You are becoming the master of your own peace. Notice how they start to spiral. When the charm doesn't work and the provocation fails, they enter a state of narcissistic injury. This is a deep, agonizing wound to their ego. They cannot understand why they aren't working on you anymore. It challenges their entire worldview. If you can walk away, then they aren't the center of everything. If you are cold, then they are truly alone. This realization is their greatest nightmare. You might feel the urge to explain your silence. Don't. Every word you give them is a lifeline. Every explanation is a chance for them to find a new angle of attack. The beauty of going cold is that it requires no justification. Your presence was a privilege they revoked through their own actions. Your silence is simply the natural consequence of their behavior. You don't owe them a roadmap to your exit, you just have to leave. This is the moment of true separation. You are breaking the trauma bond, link by agonizing link. It feels cold because it is. You are freezing out the parasite. You are starving the fire of its oxygen. It's a brutal process, but it's the only way to ensure they don't drag you down with them. You are standing on the shore, watching the ship they burned finally sink into the dark water. You are safe. You are finally truly safe. The transition is complete when you realize you no longer care what they think of you. Whether they think you're cruel, or crazy, or heartless, it doesn't matter. Their opinion of you is none of your business. You've stepped out of the mirror. You are a person again, not a projection. And as you walk away, the narcissist is left with the one thing they fear most, the echoing silence of an empty room where your voice used to be. When a narcissist loses their grip on you, the collapse is often swift and ugly. This is the stage where the mask doesn't just slip, it shatters. Without your forgiveness to cushion the blow, they are forced to confront the wreckage of their own making. But they won't do it gracefully. They will thrash. They will lie. They will try to burn the village down just to stay warm. It's a desperate, frantic attempt to regain control. You will see them reach for anyone who will listen. The smear campaign begins in earnest. They need a new audience to tell their story to, a new group of people to convince that you are the villain and they are the long-suffering victim. It's a predictable pattern, but it feels different now. Before it would have hurt you. Now it just feels like noise. You see the machinery of their manipulation at work, and it's just sad. The collapse isn't just external, it's internal. Without their primary source of supply, they begin to disintegrate. They may cycle through new partners at high speed, or they may fall into a deep, dark depression. But make no mistake, this isn't the kind of depression that leads to growth. It's a petulant, angry despair. It's the rage of a king who has lost his throne and has no idea how to live as a common man. They will look for a replacement you, but they'll quickly find that no one else can play the role quite like you did. No one else had your specific brand of patience, your specific depth of empathy. They are left with a hollow imitation of what they had, and they know it. The coldness you've established acts like a barrier that they can't cross. They are stuck on the other side, watching you move on without a backward glance. The consequences of their actions are finally catching up to them, but they will never admit it. They will blame the universe, they will blame toxic people, they will blame the stars. Anything to avoid the terrifying truth that they are the architect of their own isolation. By going cold, you've stopped being their shield. You've stopped absorbing the impact of their mistakes. You've let the weight of their life fall on them. It's a harsh truth, but you have to see it. They would rather destroy you than admit they were wrong. That is the level of pathology we are dealing with. When you stop forgiving, you are essentially daring them to show their true colors. And they will. They will show you a level of malice you didn't think they were capable of. But don't let it shake you. This is just the final death rattle of their influence over your life. The one thing they fear most is being forgotten. To a narcissist, being hated is still a form of being remembered. But being ignored? Being treated like a stranger they once knew? That is a fate worse than death. When you go cold, you are making them invisible. You are taking away their existence in your world. They are shouting into a void, and for the first time in their lives, there is no echo coming back to them. You might see them try one last, grand gesture. A fake change, a grand apology, or a sudden realization of their flaws. Don't blink. It's just another performance. They are trying to find the on switch for your empathy. They are testing the perimeter for a weak spot. But you have hardened. Not out of bitterness, but out of necessity. You are no longer a place where they can find shelter from the storm they created. Watch the way they move on. It's often fast and it's always shallow. They have to fill the hole you left as quickly as possible. But watch closely and you'll see the same patterns repeating with the next person. They are trapped in a loop of their own making, forever chasing a feeling they can't sustain. Your exit was the only real thing in their life, and now it's gone. They are left with nothing but shadows and mirrors. The collapse is the ultimate proof that you were right to leave. If your absence causes them to fall apart this completely, it means you were the only thing holding them together. That's not love, that's a burden. You were never their partner, you were their life support system. And you have every right to turn it off. You have every right to breathe your own air. The collapse is theirs to own. Your life is finally your own. Healing doesn't feel like a sudden burst of sunshine. It feels like the slow, steady thaw after a long, brutal winter. It starts with the quiet. No more waiting for the phone to ring with a crisis. No more rehearsing what you're going to say to defend yourself. Just silence. At first, it might feel heavy, maybe even lonely. But as you sit in it, you'll realize it's the sound of your own soul finally being allowed to speak. You are going to have to learn who you are without the conflict. For so long, your identity was tied up in reacting to them, fixing them, or surviving them. Now that space is empty. It's time to fill it with things that actually belong to you. Your hobbies, your dreams, the small joys you set aside to keep them happy. You aren't just recovering, you are discovering. You are meeting yourself for the very first time. There will be days when the coldness feels like it might harden your heart forever. You'll worry that you've lost your ability to trust, to love, to be soft. But let me tell you something. Your softness was never the problem. The person you gave it to was. Your heart isn't broken. It's just under construction. You are building better walls so that next time, only the people who deserve to be there can get inside. Forgiveness, when it finally comes, won't be for them. It won't be a conversation you have with them or a letter you send. It will be a quiet release within yourself. It will be the moment you realize that they no longer have the power to hurt you because they no longer matter. You'll look back at the chaos and feel a distant sort of pity, like watching a storm from inside a warm house. You are no longer in the rain. Reclaiming your life means accepting that you might never get the closure you wanted. You will never get the "I'm sorry" that feels real. You will never get the explanation that makes sense. And that's okay. Your closure is the fact that you are still here. Your closure is the peace you feel when you wake up in the morning and realize you don't have to check your phone for a disaster. You are your own closure. The coldness you adopted wasn't a mask. It was a shield. And as you heal, you'll find you don't need to carry it quite so heavily anymore. You'll learn how to be warm again, but with discernment. You'll learn that your kindness is a limited resource, and you have the right to choose who gets to experience it. You are no longer an open door, you are a sanctuary. And you get to decide who is allowed to enter the gates. Think about the strength it took to walk away when everything in you wanted to stay and fix it. That strength didn't come from nowhere. It was always there, buried under layers of manipulation and fear. You have survived a psychological war, and you have come out the other side. You are not a victim, you are a victor. You have done the hardest thing a human can do. You chose yourself over a beautiful lie. As you move forward, the memory of them will fade. It won't happen overnight, but one day you'll realize you haven't thought about them in hours. Then days. Then weeks. They will become a footnote in your story, a lesson you learned the hard way. You are writing a new chapter now, one where you are the protagonist, the hero, and the authority. The narrative is yours again. The pen is firmly in your hand. This is the final truth. The narcissist didn't break you. They just showed you what you were made of. They tried to consume your light, but all they did was prove how brightly you can shine even in the dark. You are more resilient than you ever imagined. You are more powerful than they ever feared. You have reclaimed your energy, your time, and your future. The winter is over. It's time for you to finally bloom. So, if you're still waiting for a reason to stop forgiving them, let this be it. Let your silence be the final word. Let your indifference be the ultimate answer. You don't need to shout to be heard, you just need to be gone. Because the most devastating thing you can ever do to someone who survives on your attention is to show them that you are perfectly happy without it. Your life is the one thing they can never take again.